What's up guys, this is Tampa Tech and I'm going to show you a few different ways that you can troubleshoot and fix your HDMI issues. If you have no signal on your TV, then this may help you. If you have no picture on your TV, that could be your T-Con board if you have an LCD TV, or it could be your main logic board or a backlight issue. But this is for a no signal issue, HDMI issues. Most of your HDMI connection issues can be the HDMI cable, could be the device, it's not outputting an HDMI signal, so you want to switch the device. If you have a cable box, you want to switch it and see if you have a Blu-ray player. If you still don't have a signal, then it could be the HDMI port. Switch to a different HDMI port or switch to a different HDMI cable. If you still don't have a signal, then yes, it can be the main logic board in your TV. Now, unplugging the power cord, waiting about 30 seconds, plugging it back in, that's called a hard reset. That can easily fix your issue if you have no audio or no video on your HDMI ports. Sometimes it's further. This right here is your main logic board, and here's your HDMI connections right there on your main logic board, and that all leads to this chip. So I'm going to show you 3 ways that you can fix your HDMI problem. So if you have no signal on one of your HDMI ports or all your HDMI ports have no signal, I'm going to show you things that you can do to troubleshoot and hopefully fix your issue with no signal on your HDMI ports. Now if you plug in your RCA connections, composite connections, and you do have video and it's only on your HDMI connections, then you can have bad firmware update. Now that happened on a Sharp TV I fixed. I updated the firmware, and it ended up fixing that issue where they had no signal on the HDMI ports only. Now that may not be the case for all your problems with your HDMI no signal issue. Right here is your IC. Now if you trace all these traces right here, you'll notice that they all lead to this IC. Now, sometimes this IC can have bad solder connections right here on these pins, and there's a lot of pins. If you look, there's a crap load. I think there's 75, if I'm not mistaken, 100. It says right here. So this is very difficult to replace. Even I've been doing this for a long time. I've been fixing TVs for over 15 years. And even for someone like myself fixing TVs over 15 years, this is extremely difficult without the proper tools, and they're expensive tools. I'll leave a link in the video description below who I really suggest watching his videos, because he has expensive equipment to do this, and he does this on a daily basis. It's Louis Rossman, and his videos are really good. But yeah, replacing this, I don't recommend for any tech to replace this if they don't have the proper tools or skills to do so. Just if you want, you just get the main logic board. They're around like 80 bucks, 75 bucks, 80 bucks, up to 100 bucks. If you're lucky, you could get it for 60 bucks on eBay. But there's no warranty when you buy on eBay, of course. I use shopjimmy.com. You have a board warranty, just peace of mind. Pay a little extra on shopjimmy.com, but it does come with a warranty. Now, you can replace this, but it's very difficult, and you can get it for about like $10 to $20 the IC. But if you don't do it properly, then you ruin the board and the IC, and then you'll be out the board and the IC. So in the long run, it may be cheaper just to order the board. And a lot of aggravation. Save yourself a whole lot of aggravation and a lot of time. So look back here, sometimes you'll get cold solder joints, and the only thing you have to do is solder these connections and you'll be up and running. That's if you're unplugging and plugging it in a lot and you're like doing one of these numbers, you're wiggling it, you can break these ground points, which they'll cause no signal, definitely. But sometimes right here, you'll crack that, there's pins inside, and if they look all mangled up in there, then you would have to change out the connection. And replacing one of these connections, it's not easy, it's actually kind of difficult. I'll leave a link in the video description below. iPad Rehab, they do some HDMI connections repairs on their channel, really good videos. Like I said again, the equipment, they have the good equipment, and it's going to be easier for you to actually replace these if you have the proper equipment.
So if you look right here, there's a whole lot of pins all right there, and the traces on those are very thin. A lot of times what people do is they pull and they rip the traces right off the board, and then the board is junk unless you can replace those traces, which is extremely difficult because they're like thinner than a hair. So yeah, that looks mingled up in there. Replace the connection or replace the main logic board. And yeah, and if you see any kind of discoloration or burn marks or a pinhole, not that's a dimple. That indicates pin 1 on the IC. But if you feel like there's like a pinhole, burning like on top of the IC, then the IC is probably defective. And this one actually is fine. It feels fine. And there's no discoloration on this IC. But sometimes what people do is they heat it up with a heat gun. That makes, the HDMI ports work again for another couple hours, and then after you reflow it, and then it fails again because you didn't properly reflow all the connections. You use solder paste and try to reflow all these connections, and then of course if you get bridging, you're going to short things out. But if you just heat it up with a heat gun or a hair dryer, it's not going to fix it long term. It's only a temporary fix because the only thing you're doing is you're heating up already the bad solder connections. If you want to troubleshoot that, you can use freeze spray or a hot hair dryer, and they'll let you know if it's going to work or not. DVD player or a Blu-ray player plugged into one of the HDMI ports that have no signal, and then if you heat it up and it works again, then you know it is the IC. And then if you hit it with freeze spray and then the picture goes out and it says no signal again on the screen, then you know it's definitely the IC. There's an issue there, and then you could replace the main logic board, or you could try your luck replacing the IC, or you could try getting some solder paste and then running it on these connections right here, and then heat it up with the solder paste to add some better solder on these connections. And then if you have any bridging, then use the desoldering wire. I'm going to show you that right now.
Alright, so let's say for example this HDMI connection is defective. Well, let's go ahead and trace those traces, follow those traces right there on this side of the IC. And I got some flux right here. There's a flux pen, and then you could do is go ahead and clean that up right there. Okay, and then add a little bit. It goes a long way, so you could just push a little bit out there. That's just enough. And then let's go ahead and wipe it across those right there. And this heats up quick. You'll see it glow. There it is. And then you want to just heat it up right here. Alright, so you can use some thermal paper to protect the IC, and then just only expose the connections right here, the solder pad connections. That'll protect the IC from overheating. But it should be alright. Now if you see any kind of bridging, which it looks like I have a bridging right there, you could do is you could clean it up, get a little bit of flux. That's going to help transfer the solder, the excess solder, to the desoldering wire. There we go. And you can see right there that we got it. Example is bad, and when you wiggle it, the picture goes in and out. I suggest just soldering the ground points. Takes up quite a bit of heat, but it should work. There you go. On this side right here, you want to do the same thing with the solder paste. So if this video was informative, give me a big thumbs up. And if you want more how-to videos coming your way, click on this link right here. And if you want to check out some of my other repair videos, click on this link right here. And if you know anyone that has this similar issue with their HDMI connections, go ahead and click on the share button below and share this video to them and help someone out. Later.